Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a very special one because I have an announcement coming up a little bit later in this video. Alright, in today's video I want to talk to you about the pros and cons of shooting film or digital in street photography. If you're a regular visitor on my channel, you probably know that I shoot both, that I shoot digital and film. And this video isn't about film versus digital, because both have something going for it and I wouldn't want to dismiss one or the other. But I want to give you my perspective and what I've learned over the years shooting both side by side. Now let's talk about the positive aspects of film and digital when shooting street photography. Especially if you're a beginner and you're just starting out, it's a lot easier to get your settings right, like your exposure, your focus. And also I think it's easier to get the framing right because you instantly can see the image. And therefore you can change your settings accordingly if something doesn't work out. That's pretty handy. So I think for a beginner, shooting a digital camera is a lot better. Depending on your budget, starting out with a digital camera might also be a good idea because you only have to buy the camera and the lens and maybe the memory card. And that's about it. And the thing is, when you're just a beginner, you will fail a lot. And therefore, if you shoot film, you would probably burn a lot of money for developing and scanning. And also most modern digital cameras, they will allow you to shoot in a high frame rate. Some people might argue against shooting in burst mode, but I think it's all about getting the shot. And with a film camera, you're probably only shooting like 1 frame a second. And sometimes it's not ideal to get the perfect timing. So burst mode on a digital camera sometimes works out better. The best camera is the one that you have with you. You've probably heard about that. And sometimes that is the smartphone. That's the only camera that I will bring. And then the question is getting the shot or not. So having a digital camera on me all the time in form of a smartphone, that is pretty handy. And I had a couple of occasions where I was really happy that I brought my phone and was shooting a digital camera basically. And nowadays the image quality on the smartphones is pretty good. Talking about image quality, most modern digital cameras, they have an outstanding image quality and they have a lot of dynamic range, they have like tons of resolution and the noise performance is pretty good. Nowadays it's outperforming film easily. Another benefit of using a digital camera might be instant gratification. It's not super important to a lot of people and it's not important to me. I'm not that kind of person that is sharing his images right away on social media or whatever. But if you're a beginner and you can see on your screen that you have a keeper already, it might help you to stay motivated and keep on shooting instead of like waiting for days or weeks maybe to get your images back. And then you realize, oh man, the photos aren't that great. And maybe in the long run, you lose your motivation. So I think for beginners, having that option is pretty good. Now let's look at the positive aspects of using film when shooting street photography. When using a film camera to shoot street, it's a much bigger challenge than using a digital camera. And therefore, it's a lot harder to succeed. However, if you do so, you get a greater sense of accomplishment, and that is something I really like about shooting film on the streets. Modern digital cameras have tons and tons of features, and that can get overwhelming to some degree. And if you use a film camera, for instance, like on my Leica M6 here, I only set the shutter speed, the aperture, and I focus manually. I don't have to deal with all the settings and have to think about, okay, which autofocus settings am I using now or this and that. That makes it a little easier because I can focus more on the subject itself instead of fumbling around with the settings in my camera. For sure, there are digital cameras out there that are more basic. But for instance, if I look at my Sony cameras that are filming me right now, if I only look at the autofocus settings that are in there, it's absolutely insane. There are so many settings, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Every time I go out shoot with my Leica M6, it's such a relief to have like, not to deal with all these kind of settings, whatever. So that is really good and that is what I like the most about shooting film. I've talked about it before, and that is that the image quality on digital cameras is outperforming film easily. But on the flip side, if you're shooting film, you embrace all the imperfections, you embrace the grain, the light leaks, and it's very unlikely that you will find pixel peepers among film shooters. It's a very different story if you talk to photographers that only shoot digital cameras, because there are so many out there that only care about resolution, like noise performance, and they care less about the image, and that is pretty bad. And therefore I think it's very beneficial if you shoot film, because you learn that it's not important. The next point is especially true if you shoot film and you develop your film at home. If you have done it, you know what I'm talking about, and that is if you have like a roll of film freshly developed and you get it out of the tank and you see the images the first time, that's the greatest thing in the world. And even after developing hundreds of rolls at home, I'm getting really excited when I get out the roll and I see my photos. And lately I've shot a lot of slide film. That is even better because you can see the image right away because it's not a negative. That is absolutely awesome, and I think most people would really enjoy that. Another thing is, if you're stuck in a rut, it might be very beneficial to shoot film, because instead of buying a new camera, a new lens for a lot of money, you can simply try a new film stock you have never tried before, and you will get a very different look. And therefore you might find new motivation to go out and shoot more. So I think for this, film is a pretty good idea. I've already mentioned a couple of negative points about shooting film or digital in street photography, but here are a couple additional things. Especially some of the mirrorless cameras out there, they're pretty battery hungry. And for instance, if I take my Leica Q and I will go out for a whole day of shooting, I will probably bring like 3 to 4 batteries. And at the end of the day, they are all drained. And the thing is, even if I don't use the camera and I don't switch it off, it will drain the battery quickly. And so yeah, that's a pretty bad thing. On film cameras, I don't have that problem. I mean, there's a battery in my M6, but it's only for the light meter, and if the battery is flat, it doesn't matter because I can still shoot the camera. That is pretty nice, especially when you're traveling. You don't have to bring batteries and a charger, just bring the camera and film and you're good to go. Another thing that can be really annoying about digital cameras is if you buy them brand new, yes, they depreciate in value pretty quickly. Film cameras nowadays, they go up in value, and if you buy a camera now for like, let's say 1,000 euros, in 1 year or 2 years, this camera might be worth a lot more. Usually you get your money back if you sell the camera, if you so desire. Now you might think that I'm sugarcoating shooting film over shooting digital, but that's not true, because film has also some limitations and some negative aspects, and let's talk about them now. One thing is that film cameras sometimes are really old, and most cameras are pretty old. There are hardly any new cameras coming out, and some manufacturers, they still produce film cameras, but it's really hard to find any. Maybe Leica is doing it and a couple of others. But the thing is, because the cameras are really old, it means if they break, which will happen at some point if you're using them a lot, you might be in trouble, because if there's no spare parts around, you cannot use the camera anymore. And once in a while, you have to have your film cameras checked. If the shutter speeds are still working, if the light seals are okay. This can get really expensive depending on the camera you're using. Also, when you shoot film, mistakes can happen more easily. For instance, on a rangefinder, it's not uncommon that people don't take away the lens cap and they're shooting like a blank roll basically. And also, and that happened to me, is if you don't load the film correctly, and yeah, then you're shooting and after a while you think, okay, what's going on? I'm on frame 40 already and it's still like advancing. And then you realize, oh shit, the film is not correctly loaded, so yes, no photo at all. It happened to me only once. But that was really, really annoying, because in my mind I was thinking about all these great photos that I took, but basically I didn't. And if you want to shoot a lot at night, a film camera might not be the best option, and it's better to shoot a digital camera because the noise performance is a lot better. You can do it. I've done it before, and also with the Mamiya 645 medium format. If you push the film to a 30-100, maybe 60-400, it can be done, but it's a lot harder to get good results compared to a digital camera. So for night shooting, a digital camera is a lot better. And also, traveling with film can be a pain in the butt, because if you go on a trip and you bring like dozens of rolls of film, it takes away a lot of space in your bag. If you go to a tropical country, you have to make sure that the film is stored away from the heat and the sun. And also your film can get damaged like by X-rays, maybe. I'm not sure if that happens. It never happened to me, but some people reported that it happened to them. So it's better to have the film hand-checked. And sometimes that's a little problematic, and therefore it's a lot easier to travel with digital camera. So you just put them through the X-ray machine, and that's about it. Something I didn't really talk about in this video is the difference in terms of its aesthetics between film and digital. And that is for a good reason, because it's highly, highly subjective. And in the end, it's a matter of personal preference. Okay guys, the question now is, what do I prefer? Shooting film, because all my personal work at the moment is done on film, or digital? Well, the thing is, I couldn't decide because shooting film is a lot of fun. I like the aesthetics, I like the whole process in general, but at the same time I really enjoy shooting my Leica Q out on the streets. So for me personally, I think I will shoot both even in the future. Let me know in the comments down below which one you prefer, and also let me know why. I think might be really interesting to get a discussion going on. Alright guys, it's time for the announcement I was talking about in the beginning. And some of you might already have a good idea what I'm going to reveal now, and that is my brand new zine. And that is what it looks like. My new zine is called 28, as you just saw, and yeah, what can I say? I mean, the zine was printed last week and it should be here in a couple of days, which is really, really exciting. And in the end, it's my second zine after my Xpan zine here. But it's very different because it's a lot bigger than this, has more pages than this. And also my Xpan zine, I made the zine roughly a year ago, and yeah, I took just photos that I took like in the years before that. But my new zine is very different because I traveled to Cairo with the idea in mind to shoot the hell out of the place and put the results into a zine, and that's what I did. And I'm super, super happy how it turned out. It looks really great, and because I used only one camera, one lens and one film stock, the results are very consistent, and that is what I really like about it. And it's the same place, it's just one city. And I spent like 9 days there shooting. Like I said, the zine is going to be really amazing. I can't wait to see it in person. I've already seen some test prints and they looked absolutely stunning. And like I said, it's almost double the size, so the prints are a lot bigger in there, like compared to this zine. And the cool thing is you can pre-order the zine starting today, right now. The link will be in the description box down below. If you pre-order until next Sunday, the shipping cost will be 50% off, and shipping will start just after that. And also, if you pre-order the zine, you will have the chance to win a signed print. And how it works is, among all the pre-orders, I will pick a random winner. After you received your copy of the zine, I will get in touch with the winner, and the winner can pick whatever photo that is in the zine, and I will make the print, sign it, and then I will ship it to you. And also, if you pre-order the zine and you haven't picked up my Xpan zine, maybe consider getting a copy of this too. And because if you buy 2 items, the shipping cost on the second item will be 50% off as well. So might be a good idea to save some money and get 2 awesome zines. However, if you want to get an Xpan zine, hurry up, because I'm almost running out of zines, and in a couple of weeks they will be gone forever. So in case you want one, you better hurry up before it's too late. And also, if you pre-order the new zine and you want me to sign it, let me know while you're ordering, and then I will happily sign it for you. As always, if you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and we will hopefully see each other very soon in the next video. Until then, auf Wiedersehen.